difficulties, but we are happy to have you guys. Happy Sunday. So the purpose of this live is for multiple reasons. So it's called T. T stands for transparency, empowerment, and accountability. And I think these three things are very key in dealing with government at any level. So I welcome you to, post in the comments, ask questions. We're going to go over a few key things, but the biggest thing that we're wanting you to do is learn how to fish. So we're going to teach you how to go through and find, all the links that are needed to kind of go over what's happening in the in Harnett County government. So it's super informal, nothing crazy. You see, I have my laptop in front of me. I want to best be able to collaborate with you all. But we're going to go ahead and start with some rules. So the purpose of this is not to bash anybody. That's not the kind of campaign I want to run. I really want to be able to collaborate with you all, take back some information to the commissioners if that is needed, if there's areas for improvement. I want to be about that. It's all about being a part of the solution and not being a perpetual part of the problem, right? So for those of you who don't know me, I am Anna Bryant. I am the District 1 candidate for Harnett County Commissioners. So we have a few agenda items I wanted to talk about today. First and foremost, there is a board meeting tomorrow that is going to go over some very key, critical things that are going to be affecting our county over the next few years. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the CIP. CIP stands for Capital Improvement Plan. So for those on Facebook, you'll see we're going to be posting some links in the comments. So that way you guys can kind of follow along with me as we go through it. So the first link you're going to receive is for the February 7th meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. And there's a few key things, the CIP, but also the county's legislative priorities. So you should have those links. If you go to the link that has Tree Free in it and go to page 63, you will see Harnett County's legislative priorities list. So this was a very hot topic this past work session meeting where they kind of discussed, so every year the Board of Commissioners gather and they're able to make a list of priorities of things that they want to be accomplished by the our federal and state legislative leaders. So the key priorities that they brought up, because the legislators kind of wanted them to pick a top three. So if there are top three issues that you wanted us to help them solve, what would they be? So first and foremost, you'll see that economic development is the top, right? So what does that mean? You see assist with efforts to expand natural gas and capacity, assist county in creation of economic development sites, buildings, and industrial parks, support 4-lane highways into Wake County, assist county in expanding broadband access to underserved areas, a big emphasis also on the Harnett Regional Jetport, which this is kind of within the economic development realm also. Definite means to bring in additional income. And then we see after that is education, providing additional solutions to assist with public education capital funding. And I would think one of my biggest concerns as a candidate was the fact that our children are already in overcrowded schools. The historical solution has always been to kind of add more huts, right? That's not a permanent solution. As we're seeing that there's 5,000 houses coming into Harnett County over the next few years, having additional huts is not sustainable, right? We all kind of know that building schools costs money. So we have to have a very strategic way we kind of go about making sure that we have income to build additional schools. And that income, that funding should be the number one priority, right? Because economic development is important, right? But in order to, as you think about things like natural gas capacity and the ability to bring in additional businesses and industry, those businesses and industry often come as a form of families, right? So as we think about form of families, like families have kids, 1.5 kids per household, usually on average. So we have to make sure that education is first and foremost. So I would encourage you all, tomorrow in the meeting that we push that, we make that a priority for our commissioners, that education has to come first. We're building economic development sites. That's important too, right? But the educational piece has to come first. I'm going to check comments just to make sure I'm not missing anything as we move forward. Awesome. So nothing so far. So yes, that is our legislative priority. So now if you go to page 89, you will see the capital improvement program. And there's numerous things that we have here. We'll see the historical things that have already been completed, but we will also see things like what is to come. So there are plans for additional schools, which is a great thing. There's currently not much funding available for those, so we have to work on getting that. And I see here Marge says, can you report where to get the priority list from? So in the chat, I believe my handy sidekick Jenny has posted the link for the meeting agenda.
It's not, I'm gonna try it again. It's not letting me, it's saying if there's an error. So we'll try it again.
Give me 1 second. I'll send it over to you guys. So you should see in the comments for AOB for Harnett, the February 7th meeting agenda. And then from there, if you click on to view the meeting agenda package, click here. And that'll provide you the complete package that the Board of Commissioners receive for all these specific agenda items. Can someone confirm that they're able to access the link, please? Facebook's community standards don't seem to be our friend today. As far as the tree-free link.
March said yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So are there any questions on the legislative priorities? I know you guys probably need some time to take a quick look, so I'll remind you guys of the page numbers. So page 63 has the legislative priorities. And then page 89 has the CIP. Any questions? All right, moving along. So another big thing that's happening that you guys may or may not have heard about is the county reassessment of property taxes. So this thing typically happens by state law. It's supposed to happen every 8 years. Harnett County has made the decision to do it every 4 years to better keep up with market value of housing. So the next link you'll see posted is the link to a FAQ for what Harnett County has as far as to describe property reassessment values. And the other thing to think about with that is that there are exemptions, right? So if they have an elderly exclusion, disabled veteran exclusion, disabled persons exclusion, and circuit breaker deferment. And one of the key things here is that as we grow and evolve and we bring in more industry, property value does go up. And it is important for us to kind of take that realization. So you may see that your property taxes will go up. I see Marge's comment here that it is a lot to read through. So it's very important, again, to know kind of where to find some of these documents in order to be able to really kind of understand everything that is going on a larger scale. And again, the kind of purpose of these interactive discussions is for you guys to, ask questions, to empower you guys to come to the meetings and get involved, because there's a lot of information that is happening behind the scenes that we're not always privy to. The meetings are obviously not always the most ideal time to go over every single detail. So it's super important for us to make sure we go through these packets for things that are of most importance and kind of work through it that way. Another thing to bring up as far as the tax exemptions are concerned and the property tax appraisals is that the county has made some efforts to do some virtual and in-person FAQs for the community. So you can find those also via the Harnett County government Facebook site and also the website. I would strongly, again, encourage you guys to go to those. Any face-to-face time interaction is something that, would help empower you as citizens to stay informed, but then sharing those avenues also with your neighbors. Social media is not always the greatest avenue for everyone, right? A lot of our older community is not on social media, so it's very important that from a word of mouth perspective that we share this with our neighbors. Just gonna check for comments again. Awesome. So the other thing that I would like for you guys to be aware of is a lot of the rezoning hearings. So similar to the packets that you see for the meeting agenda, the county does a great job of sharing those packets for the rezoning things that they see. So there's a very continuous process that the county is obligated to go through from a legal perspective and making sure that those affected or could be affected by these rezoning things occur. And as those kind of come up in discussion, we will make sure that we post that on our page so you're aware. And there's also been working with some of the folks that are running Harnett United. Marge Morton, I want to say kudos to her for kind of getting that together. So I would encourage you guys, that's a great source of information. Join the Harnett United Facebook group as they're looking to make sure that, transparency in government happens, and empowering people with the details that they need in order to be successful is also super important. Kudos to them also. And just want to make sure, again, we don't have any questions. And thanks, Marge, for posting the Harnett United page. Awesome. And just to circle back, I would strongly encourage you guys to go through the packet. There's a lot of deals that are going on within Harnett County as well that are included in that agenda packet. Any questions? I won't hold you guys forever, but I really want this to be a very collaborative discussion. And we'll continue to do these every other week prior to the board meeting. And I'll make sure I post the links ahead of time for the board meeting agenda so you guys have them also. Are there any topics of discussion that anyone would like to go over? I always want to make sure that I have notes prepared. So when I approach our commissioners, we have that in addition to, kind of empowering you guys for public hearings also. So let me know what matters most to you. I see a question from Kevin Dunson. Are the legislative priorities in order? Yes. Per the document, that is the order in which they have declared the top 3 to 4 legislative priorities. Yes, that does mean that the jetport is considered more important than schools. And I'm sure the logic behind it again is that it is a source of revenue to help with that. But the purpose of the legislative priorities is that these are the things that we're looking for our government, our state and federal legislatures to help us with, right? So why would we not put that first if we're in dire need of obviously having more schools? Yes, I agree with you, Margin. In a lot of ways, we're being very reactive as opposed to being proactive, because kind of is what I was kind of insinuating before, is that the issue with the schools has been going on for, several years now. I arrived in Harnett County in 2011, coming through the military, and it was crazy to me to see how many huts that the schools had, and how we, I guess, kind of got there. And you would think that the proactive thought would have come, and it hasn't yet. And they've done some, but there's a dire need for more. We have another comment from Mrs. Savoli. The jetport is beneficial to a select group of folks, which is also a true statement. But the big thing I would like to express also is that, like, we have to have a community needs assessment by which we prioritize these different things, right? I have not seen one done native within Harnett County, and I think that information and that data would be so valuable to the citizens, and then helping the commissioners make very much so more informed decisions about what problems we see first and how we activate them. Also making sure that we are looking into and have access to grants, federal and state grants, that can help offset some of the costs where we can.
Ronnie has a question.
So Ronnie Kemp has a question. Do you know if the jetport also received funding from the COVID relief aid provided to the county? I do not know specifically. So I do know that the jetport was a legislative priority last year, and I do believe that they did receive funding as a part of the legislative priorities last year. And I agree with you, Jean. I agree with you. Until our schools improve, large business development will be stymied. Yep. So what can we do? I think that's an important question that we have to consider for us as citizens, is what happens next. I think one of the key things that we can do to get involved is to be a part of Harnett County boards. There's a few vacancies within boards, and we will post a link to where you can see what vacancies exist. It's super important that your voice be heard. The second thing that I think you can do is that you can stand up at the public comments, at the public hearings, and allow all the commissioners to hear your voice. Your voice matters, right? And then there's power in your voice, and there's power in diversity in people. So we have to encourage our neighbors to get up and take a stand. In addition to emailing your commissioners, give them a call. They work for you. The commissioners work for you. Your tax dollars pay them. So it is super important that you take advantage of that. They owe you the answers. They owe you the why. So make sure you ask those why questions. So we will also make sure that we post the board meeting schedule. So the board meetings occur the first and the third Monday of the month. And then the work session meeting is typically the Tuesday after I believe the first board meeting of the month. But we will make sure that we post the board schedule there. And yes, Marge, I agree with you. People do need to stop waiting until it affects them directly before they take a stand. The time to do it is now. The time to be proactive is now. The time to assess community needs is right now. We can't wait. We can't be reactive anymore. We have to be proactive. And it's super important. And I think doing a community needs assessment will highlight this, is like, what is Harnett County's identity? I think in the previous years, our focus has been on agriculture, but as we are moving in more developments, a lot of our farms are going away. So what makes Harnett County unique and special? And the only way that we can identify what that is to really have that honest communication and that honest community needs assessment with the residents. Every resident's voice has a say and a vote in where we see our county going. Those that we elect are our representatives. Do we have any more questions? Questions or comments? So in preparation for our next one, as I said before, please send us your comments on what things you want to hear about, what things you want to learn about. There's plenty of opportunity to have guest speakers come in and, talk about different things, teach us different things. I'm hearing there's about a minute lag, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so please message us about what topics you want to hear about. I am more than willing and always will be an advocate for our residents. No matter where you are. I'm running for District 1, but I will be a voice for all people, regardless elected or not. So yes, please let us know what conversations you would like to have, what issues you see as most pertinent, and I will be the voice for you. I see another question from Kevin Dunton. Can you explain the capital improvement plan? So the capital improvement plan normally happens every few years, and it kind of goes over existing projects and kind of where their statuses are, in addition to pending projects that could be either in multiple categories. They could be pending funding, have funding allocated, or pursuant of some kind of funding in the future. So the capital improvement plan kind of goes over all those different areas and projects as within those various statuses, if that makes any sense. So those will kind of establish the goals for the county for the next 3 to 7 years typically. I see another comment from Marge Morton. Can you go over Lillington zoning public hearings coming up? So Lillington zoning public hearings, the town of Lillington typically uses Facebook as one mechanism for disseminating information as far as the agenda for public hearings. Another thing to consider there is they do publish also via the Daily Record when public hearings become available. And the key thing there is that you're unable currently to kind of access some of these things proactively via the town website. I know they're working towards getting that fixed and adjusted, but it's definitely a gap that they have now. So the avenues for that are also the Town of Lillington meetings, which again, you can access that meeting schedule on the Town of Lillington website. And another, I think, a very key essential tool to be used is the Harnett County GIS software. So if you have a moment, I'll have Jenny post that link also for Harnett County GIS. That'll kind of give you that Google Earth feel kind of satellite view of the area, who information as far as deeds and things of that also. Yes, and Marge brought up a very valid point also. So the Town of Lillington board meetings are not live streamed. They are in person only. And from what I've heard, again, they are looking at trying to develop technology to do so, but that is not the case. If you want to have your voice heard, you have to email the town clerk to have that information disseminated to the town board of commissioners. I see a message here from Kevin. Is that road widening too, or is that DOT? So road widening typically goes through DOT. One of the things that I was actually collaborating about with one of my neighbors here was kind of brainstorming some ideas, because obviously with the 5,000 houses, that's going to come in far sooner than the ability for DOT to proactively widen those roads. Like the time has kind of come and gone to be proactive in that sense. So some ideas we kind of talked about as far as what can be done. You know, I used to work for Wake County, and one of the things they did was a transportation study to kind of see where people were going. And based off of my experience here, I would gather that the majority of people are probably heading towards Fort Bragg, Wake County, and also towards Fayetteville. So having to brainstorm ideas about maybe things like ride shares to decrease the number of cars on the roads is one great idea. I think trying to have some kind of intra-county public transportation to limit the cars on the road would also be I think a great thing that we should work towards. I see a message here. Affordable housing continues to be a serious problem in Harnett. This drastically impacts our homeless problem. What do you think could be done to improve it? So I think there's multiple things here. Affordable housing is going to be critical, right? So currently, Lee County and Wake County kind of share a housing unit development program. I think we have to proactively make sure that we have more available housing and affordable housing for those who need it, right? But part of that is really assessing what the need is. How many people would we have that tap into this tool? And how many people would be required to need this resource? So having that data, I think, is going to be invaluable in that respect. With regards to the homeless situation, I think we have to be more proactive again in having a partnering with our nonprofits. We have several nonprofits within Harnett County that kind of deal with the homeless. Partnerships with DUN, the Underground Railroad, and by DUN I meant the Beacon Rescue Mission, the Underground Railroad, working with Scarf It Up. I think jointly we have to develop a partnership. Can Harnett County government solve all the problems? I don't think so, but through partnership with, again, getting federal grants, state grants, working with these nonprofits, working with our local churches as well, to make sure that we have suitable resources and living arrangements for our homeless, whether that means we have an increase in homeless shelters. I think that this is something that should be done. But in addition to that, making sure that they have all the resources they need to be successful, and not just housing, right? Mental health, the ability to have counselors that work with them to get them jobs, making sure that the food insecurity doesn't become a larger growing issue. I think together we can really make a great impact, much better than what we can do alone. If elected, will you respond to public comments when directed to the board? Currently, they do not, and this is frustrating. I 100% agree with you. There's only one way to I think, be a representative of people, and that is to have a two-way conversation. And I think that two-way conversation is so valuable to allow the residents to know that they are heard, that they are appreciated, and to kind of have that discussion, that dialogue about, where I see things, what data I have that the residents may not have, and having that unique perspective and value. I think there has to be more conversations in lives from the elected officials about what is going on, what is happening in the future, and really trying to break it down of, what things affect what people, right? And then that consistent collaboration too, because a lot of us kind of live, like I live within the town of Lillington, understanding the relationship between the town of Lillington and Harnett County government, or if you live within the other local municipalities, the same thing. I think our elected officials owe it to us to have that two-way conversation, and even more so, in the public forum. Like, people take time out of their busy schedules to come out to these meetings and to not be addressed specifically, and maybe they don't have the answers right away, right? But at least having some forethought and saying, we appreciate you coming and speaking. And I think another valid thing is that very oftentimes the work session meetings is where kind of all the bread is being made, right? Where they're kind of going through and talking through these issues. And the public hearings often also occur literally on the day of the regular meeting. So they're making that public hearing available and then immediately making a decision without having the ample enough time to really do the research and digest what our residents are saying. So one of the things that I would like to see, or I would love to see, especially if elected, is that we take the time and due diligence to not make decisions immediately right after the public hearing. I think the meeting agendas and the detailed notes should be sent out in multiple formats, right? It's very apparent that you look at the meeting agenda for tomorrow in the packet, it's 252 pages, right? I think from a marketing perspective, the county could do a much better job of disseminating that information out in digestible pieces. I think every elected official in every district should have, these in-person or virtual meetings to kind of go through what's happening, what decisions are being made, and really get that feedback. Because as a representative for the people, you have to know what the people want. So you have to have these conversations in multiple avenues, again, both in person and virtual, to make sure that you're meeting the needs of the community. We have any other comments or questions? So I just want to encourage you guys again. I know most people work Monday mornings. I work Monday mornings, but if at all possible, I encourage you guys to come out to the meeting tomorrow. I know a few of us will be there tomorrow to make sure we bring it all in, but it's super important too that if you're unable to make it, that you go onto the YouTube and watch these meetings after the fact. Because every decision that is made really has an impact on our community for the long term and for generations to come. So I encourage you to get involved in whatever shape and form you can, whether that's via a community board or whether that's via attending the meetings, doing the research, digging into this. I would absolutely love to hear more thoughts and perspectives. I would love to be able to work with you and give you the empowerment, the knowledge, the skills you would need to be successful in kind of attending these public hearings. And I look forward to doing this again in 2 weeks. So I want to thank everybody for attending this live. I know it was a little rough today. We're trying to get everything together properly, but as we go along, I look forward to continuing to have conversations like these and then share this news with our commissioners also to make sure that you have a voice, because your voice matters. So again, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. I'm going to give you guys 19 minutes back. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks from now. Thanks, guys. Bye.